So it's Black Vader again, aka I am Michael. I had the Rona and stuff. I'm actually recovering from it. I think I got a text message. I'm actually recovering from it. So I've been terrible. I've been at times just going crazy, wanting to die. I had aches and pains, chest problems, headaches. I had infusion therapy. I had to go to the VA to get infusion therapy and stuff. So I've been knocked down for the past couple of days, and I haven't been feeling too great. But I gotta stay on code. I gotta stay on mission, and I've been feeling a lot better these past couple of days. Actually, I think I lost weight and stuff. So it is what it is. But I forgot one more thing. I forgot to read in the concept and stuff. I'm gonna continue to read, but it was part of the six white supremacist strategies for confusion. I spoke about racial classification confusion, two, racial population dislocation confusion, three, racial population Taylor confusion, four, racial showcasing confusion, five, racial sexual confusion, but I didn't talk about racial white sacrifice confusion. So I wanted to talk about that more in depth. I'm like I said, I'm reading the code. You can get it at producejustice.com. Neely Fullers Jr. Shout out to everybody who's watching this, whether you're one person, two person, three person, four person, five person. I appreciate it. The fact that I'm still here, that means these motherfuckers can't stop me. So, yeah, that's it. And everyone, just be blessed, stay healthy, do what you got to do, stay what you believe in, and let's continue to produce justice in the system of white supremacy. This evil system dominated by the devil, the evil one himself or itself, whatever it is who's controlling this evil matrix. We have to stop him. Whatever it is, at all costs, we have to stop them because they're killing all of us at once. And it's an extermination technique brought by years of practice, years of refinement, and years of tailoring evil and justification amongst its citizens through classism and through racism. So I just think that's important that we talk about this, or at least I read from my point of view. And no matter what, I'm staying on code. So let's fucking get it. Like, comment, subscribe. That's it. The most destructive acts committed by the white supremacist racists against non-white people. Sexual intercourse, sexual play, and or sexual confusion. Explanation. Next to white supremacy, racism itself, sexual activity is the second strongest political motivating force among the people of the known universe. The people who have dominated functional control or influence over the sexual expression and or desires of other people also have dominant control over the basic motivations of those same people in the other areas of expression, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, war, and counter-war. Any white person who engages in sexual intercourse with a non-white person under conditions dominated by white supremacy has done more to promote the maintenance, expansion, and or refinement of white supremacy than he or she have done by any other means in any other area of activity. This is also true when a white person under conditions dominated by white supremacy commits a countersexual act, so-called homosexual act with against a non-white person. Anything a white person says or does that helps to promote such behavior and or promote sexual confusion of any kind among non-white people is by so doing practicing racism, white supremacy in its most destructive form. Notes, according to the compensatory counter-racist logic, there is reason to believe that since the establishment of the white supremacy racism, all so-called sexual social arrangements have failed to be the quality of relationships between people that they should be. All these so-called relationships have been no better than tacky, in other ways trashy, and are terroristic. There is reason to believe that a substantial part of the white supremacist racist sexual confusion strategy is to promote the concept that the vagina of the non-white female is of little or no value in the world of future sexual classifications. Since the beginning of the system of white supremacy, the supremacists have consistently worked to disrupt and confuse any commitment by nature that attracted non-white males and females to each other sexually in a constructive manner. Therefore, according to compensatory counter-racist logic, the practice of compensatory counter-racist sexuality and counter-racist genderism, sexual intercourse, and or sexual play between non-white males and non-white females exclusively is the best and correct procedure to evolve, morph, and mutate into a non-white people fulfilling the basic concept of the universal man, and with for universal woman, people who practice justice and correctness. The promotion of artificial confused sexuality among the non-white people of the known universe is intended to be the most powerful strategy against the non-white people that the white supremacists have produced since the invention of white supremacy, racism. So the most destructive acts committed by a white supremacist racism against non-white people: sexual intercourse, sexual play, sexual confusion. I'm going to go into... I'm going to read the last one, right? A racial white sacrifice confusion. Tariq Nasheed talks about this a lot, where a white person will do some fucking crazy shit, and since the system of white supremacy is made to look like everyone's equal when it's not, the white sacrifice is more about like, hey, I'm a white supremacist. I'm gonna kill a lot of non-white people and get away with it. But because we got to keep the act up, I'm gonna have to take a L and go to jail or go somewhere real quick or get a suspension. Even though, like, you know, white supremacists still rule the world, and white people still are in the classism better than everyone else, and are treated better than everyone else due to resources and everything. So let me go to rice, but I could be wrong. So let's go into what Neely Fullers says. Racial white sacrifice confusion. This term applies when a white supremacist racist speaks and or acts to dominate and mistreat non-white people based on doing great harm to themselves and or allowing others to do great harm to white people. The white supremacists sometimes do this in order to cause non-white people to believe that white supremacy does not exist, and in order to cause non-white people to believe that racism is not a serious problem, except for a few who have chosen to make it so. The white supremacists often intend to confuse non-white people by showing that many, many white people suffer and die from neglect or mistreatment. The white supremacists often present this condition as so-called proof that white supremacy exists only in the imagination of a few people who has guessed incorrectly that white supremacist racism continues to exist. The white supremacists function in a manner of sophisticated gangsters. They often fight and kill, sacrifice each other in order to settle arguments about the best way to dominate and mistreat non-white people. They regard these battles against each other as sometimes being a part of the cost of doing business, the business of white supremacy. The white supremacists never allow their white sacrifice business battles to become so self-destructive that the entire system of white supremacy suffers serious damage. In addition, after each white sacrifice, they immediately begin to repair the harm that they did to each other. They sometimes praise each other for their dedication to agree or disagree on what is the best strategy for manipulating, expanding, and or refining the system of white supremacy. They often praise and mourn the white people who are sacrificed for the greater good of white supremacy. The white supremacist racists function as a racist world army. A racist world army. Like soldiers in a war, they sometimes are willing to risk sacrificing themselves in order or other white members of their army. The system of white supremacist racism. The white supremacists also function as a racist world business. So let me read that right. I already read this, but I gotta definitely underline in that. That's very important. The white supremacists function as a racist world army. They also function as a racist world business. Like people who are in a business of dominating or mistreating people based on color and factors with others. color, the white supremacists are sometimes willing to risk sacrificing themselves with other white people or other white members of the family business, the system of white supremacy. They make these white sacrifices in order to help maintain, expand, or refine their domination and mistreatment of non-white people of the known universe. They regard their activity as patriotic and as very best for so-called good business. The white supremacists are master planners. They plan what their profits will be from the practice of white supremacy racism. They also plan their probable losses, white sacrifices. The war business of racism calls for sacrifice some of its soldiers. Such sacrifice is normal percentage requirement that is a part of the investment in mistreatment. When they plan to amuse themselves by killing large numbers of non-white people in a game of direct violence, they usually know before the start that a greater number of non-white people will suffer and die both directly and indirectly. They also know by their business calculations that very few white people will be sacrificed. In many of these racial combat circuses, the white supremacists often brag about the few white sacrifice they chose to invest in a business of dominating and mistreating non-white people for the fun, glory, and material profit that they receive from practicing racism and white supremacy. When white supremacists kill themselves or each other, they make certain that the killing does not become so damaging that it threatens to cause the end of white supremacy. These white sacrifices exercises are mostly very confusing to many non-white people. Most often, when non-white people see substantial numbers of white people suffering or dying, they sometimes have the illusion that the entire system of white supremacy is in serious trouble. The white supremacists do this by inflicting suffering on themselves and or each other in order to promote racial confusion through illusion. They intentionally do this for the purpose of causing many non-white people to believe that the white supremacist racism does not exist because so many white people are suffering, that they do this to promote the false impression that the white people, including those who believe in white supremacy, are as powerless as most non-white people. This is just another way that the white supremacists establish, maintain, expand, or refine racism, confusion through illusion. When you encounter a situation, one second. Oh man. Okay. If you encounter a situation in which a white person is in a sacrifice condition and you are able to be a constructive help to him or her, be willing to offer that constructive help. It is important for all non-white people to know and understand, according to compensatory counter-racist logic, that they have a duty to always be willing to be of constructive help to anyone who is suffering. The help should always be given in a manner that best produces a constructive result. Question: what can you, an individual non-white person, do about a white sacrifice confusion? Answer: do not think, speak, or act as if you believe that the system of white supremacy racism has ended, because from time to time you see many white people in the need of adequate shelter, food, medicine, money, etc. Be willing to give constructive help to those who are willing to help, but at the same time continue to work and learn to make yourself as self-sufficient as you possibly can. Continue to work and plan for your future constructive goals. Be aware that the white supremacists sometimes present themselves as being helpless. They sometimes do this by deliberately sacrificing themselves, by putting themselves in a situation where they suffer or kill themselves or allow themselves to be killed. White sacrifices often kill each other for reasons that are directly or indirectly connected with the intention of improving the manner in which white supremacy racism is maintained, expanded, and or refined. Notes: sometimes some white supremacists enjoy serving as white sacrifices, but only a huge number of non-white people suffer or perish. Many non-white supremacists are willing to deliberately suffer great discomfort in order to see non-white people suffer from the same or greater discomfort. The white supremacists sometimes make sacrifices of themselves whenever they judge it necessary in order to keep the system of white supremacy from being replaced with a system of justice. Do not assume that those white people who fight and or kill another are not racist. White supremacy. Explanation. Some white people who practice racism, white supremacy, sometimes have great disagreements about how white supremacy should and should not be practiced. When white people who practice white supremacy have great disagreements among themselves about how white supremacy should or should not be practiced, they sometimes fight and or kill each other on a massive scale. It is, however, incorrect to think that these fights are major wars. They are in true small and large battles. Battles are small wars that are in part of one major war. Are part of a major war. In the known universe, there is only one major war, and that war is called the race war. Those white people who practice racism against non-white people of the known universe sometimes fight major battles among themselves at the same time they are conducting the race war against non-white people. The reason is that some white supremacists seek to gain more benefit from the practice of white supremacy than the other white supremacists. Any battles that takes place between the white supremacists doing the race war to maintain white supremacy is always conducted in a manner as to ensure that non-white people remain subject to white supremacy before, during, after the battles. The white people who die as a result of conflicts between white people about the best ways to practice white supremacy are regarded by the white supremacists as white sacrifices and or as necessary losses. Always remember that in their desire to practice white supremacists, always remember that in their desire to practice white supremacy in a better or different way, some white people are willing to kill other white people. So some white people are willing to die for this shit. Some benefits to the system of white supremacy racism through the 6 racist strategies for confusion. Providing weapons to non-white people in situations where they are most likely to use those weapons against each other. Killing non-white people after first saying that those non-white people were planning to do not just harm to white people and or non-white people. Poisoning animals, the air, water, food, etc. in the areas where selected non-white people reside. Providing harmful drugs, chemicals to the non-white people, and often doing so in a manner that is deceptive, sometimes under the guise of being helpful. Spreading disease germs among the non-white people, both directly and indirectly. Causing and promoting shortages among the non-white people of needed food, water, shelter, medicine, transportation, and the ability to protect against non-just aggression. I think that's going to be it. Next, I will talk about the law of compensation and why is it important. I could go off longer, but you got to give it a little bit at a time. Thank you guys for reading and being a part of this. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for helping me stay on code, and God bless all y'all. And be constructive, be constructive, be constructive. I love y'all. Peace.